the topic that I'm teaching about today is how to shine your light through your testimony. And we're just going to go through the table of contents really quickly, what I'm going to talk about. So first, I'm going to talk about light. We're going to define light. What is light? How is that light found within us? Second, we're going to talk about the obstacles, what can stop that light from shining. Third, we're going to talk about our purpose, how can I serve Adonai and his kingdom. And fourth, we're going to talk about taking the initiative to shine our light. So what is light? Light is the natural agent that stimulates sight and makes things visible. So how can we apply this to ourselves? If we have light, we've been learning this whole Shabbat, what is light? How do we have that light within us? Santos talked about it yesterday. If we have that light, then we stimulate sight and make things visible, yes? Okay. So let's move on to John 8:12. When Yeshua spoke to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. So let's do a quick overview of what we just learned. We've only seen 2 slides. We stimulate that light. We have Yeshua. Therefore, we walk in light. Yes? Okay. So now we're going to talk about the obstacles what is stopping us from shining our light. So what do you guys think can stop you from shining your light? What is stopping you from shining your light? What do you think can stop you from shining your light? Okay, people. Disobedience. The wrong relationships. Bad influences. Sin, we already said that. Social media. Think outside the box. Think practical. Fear. Yourself. Okay. So I have a couple excuses that I feel like just apply to what we've been talking about. It's not the right time. I'm too young. I have things to do. Why am I going to shine my light? I can go hang out with my friends, party, do this and that. I'm only 16. Let's say, what will people think? Which I think a lot of us might identify with that. What if you're living a certain lifestyle and then you do a 180, you switch into something else? It might stop you from shining your light. And then for some people, it's just too hard. I don't want to do the transition from my old lifestyle, habits, create a cycle. And with those excuses that we create, we start to put those things on top of God. We start to, kind of like what Pastor Camilo was talking about, we have our own idols. So what is something that sometimes people prioritize on top of God? Your phone, people, work, yourself, money. Yes. Yes, I agree. I think that I've seen it in myself, sometimes when I'm thinking that, it's not the right time, I don't want to do this. I've prioritized my job, I've prioritized school. And then we can look at the second list and see that when you have your relationship with God above everything else starts to work out. For some people, that helps them bring, their purpose. And then let's look at this second Bible verse. It says, Proverbs 19:21. It says, one can devise many plans in one mind, but Adonai's plan will prevail. Sorry, guys, I'm a little nervous. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have also, prioritized everything else above God. I have made my own plans, and it just doesn't work out. So when I was in 8th grade, sorry, this story goes a little way back. When I was in 8th grade, I started going to choir. I think it was from till sophomore year that I was in choir, and I would sing, but I was singing for myself. I wasn't singing for God or for the teacher to hear me. I was just singing for myself. I was, and now you hear me, I talk loud, but before I would talk like this, you guys can't really hear me right now, can you? It was like that. And so once I switched schools, I didn't really join choir. I wasn't singing, but at the church that we were going to, my mom put me into singing lessons because since I was a kid, I've always sang. But it wasn't a priority to me. It was just something to do. It was kind of like, I'm doing it so that my parents don't bother me. I was doing it because I just wanted to please my parents, and that was it. It wasn't because I thought God had a purpose for me or there was any sort of plan for God in my life, but it was just something to do. I was just living out my parents' agenda at that moment. And there was this one time where I was in the class, and we were in the basement, and the teacher was telling me, do this note, and I was singing, and this hermano came by, and he turns around and he looks at me, and he's like, oh my God, you should join Alabanza. And I was like, never. I would never do that. That's crazy talk. And then once we left that church, we started in Torah. We were, having our services in my house. And at that moment, we needed a worship team because how do services go? They go prayer, worship, and then the preaching. And we needed somebody to sing. So it was me, Emily, and someone else. This girl named Elizabeth, you guys probably know her. And we would sing a few songs, on the piano, but it was nothing special. And I wasn't doing it for myself again. I was doing it to please my parents and because we needed it. Somebody needed to sing. And then, as time went by, I started noticing that our Kehila was growing. And I just started noticing God was working more in my life. I was pushing things aside that were distracting me, things that were covering my light. I was in relationships, I had work, I had school, I had everything, and the thing that I wasn't prioritizing was my relationship with God. And then we came to this retreat, and it was 2 years ago, Panama City, when we first came to Panama City, and my mom asked us a question at the end of the retreat, and she asked us, well, where do you see yourself serving? And a few of us answered, and I said, you know what, I guess I'll continue in Alabanza because I'm already in Alabanza. I guess I have to do that. But what you guys don't know is that I tried to quit Alabanza many times. I would find every excuse to not be in Alabanza. Alabanza was not my thing. Obviously, I could sing, but I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do anything that God wanted me to do. And then I just started seeing God work more and more in my life. And then now I'm here singing in Alabanza. And I had 2 times where una hermana, she spoke to me and she told me, she didn't know that she was telling me to not quit Alabanza. That was God speaking through her. But at the time, I was about to quit Alabanza, and every time she would tell me, basically, don't quit Alabanza. That was the point. So I had plans in my life. You know how it says, one can devise many plans in one's mind, but Adonai's plan will prevail. So if you think, I can't serve, I can't do this and that, God's plan will prevail. And then Matthew 6:33 says, do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. So let's do a quick overview. We've learned about light. We've learned about those obstacles, work, relationships, your own plans. You yourself can get in the way. But when you seek his kingdom and his righteousness, everything else falls into plan. Everything else goes the way that God wants it to go. And that all has a purpose. The light that is within us has a purpose. Everyone's purpose is different, but we all have a purpose. There is no reason that any of us are here. Wait, I said that wrong. Everyone is here for a reason. This isn't just because we all happened to, plan this retreat and it was for fun and now we're all here and we paid a ticket, we're here. It happened for a reason. God allowed it to happen for a reason. And everyone's life has a purpose. And as I was preparing for this class, I saw this pastor. He was preaching about how everyone has a different purpose. We're all different lights, right? So let's look at the different lights. Obviously, there's many other lights, but these are the three that I thought were quite distinguished. So the first one is the oven lamp. You might be an oven lamp. You might be hidden. Not everybody sees you. You might be backstage. You like to do, like the technical sound work, stuff like that. Or you might be a neon lamp like Santos, max energy. He puts the smoke. You might be like Diego, pumping everyone up. Or you might be a flashlight that you can go anywhere. You have your family here, but you can be a missionary. Like the Pastor Claudio, he was from Cambodia. He went all the way to Texas. Everybody is a different type of light, and everybody has a purpose. But you don't necessarily have to have the same purpose as every other person in the room. Not everybody is going to be a pastor. Not everybody is going to clean the bathroom. We need people to cook. We need people to set up the sound, to set up the table. Everybody has a different purpose, yes? Okay. And that brings us to 1 Peter 2:9. But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. And how do we put that into action? Because we've seen so many things, but I think that if I tell you all these verses, but I don't tell you how to apply it, there's no point in me speaking. There's no point in me telling you, you're a holy nation, you're chosen, if I don't tell you how you can apply that to your life. And we were talking about the different lamps. I don't know if you guys have seen Ulises, Pastor Santos, posting on social media, that's their way of shining their light. That's their way of showing, basically reaching out to everybody that's on social media. And I think another way that a lot of us don't really think about, how can I shine my light is in school. You don't necessarily have to sit there and preach to your friends. You can just share lunch with somebody that's alone. You can share your lunch with somebody that doesn't have lunch. You can, be nice to somebody that might be lonely or something like that. Your actions, if you see somebody that's having a bad attitude and you tell them, hey, you look nice today. I like your outfit. That could be a light to them. And then work. At least for me, when I go to work, I'm somebody that you can ask my parents. When I go to work, I'm 30 minutes early sometimes because I think on time is late. And that's how I shine my light at work. I don't preach to the people at work, but with my actions, with being on time, let's say you take on extra work because you see your manager is stressed. That could be your way of shining your light. You don't have to necessarily preach to everyone. And before I go, I want to leave you guys with this quote that I didn't even find it while I was preparing for this. It just happened to go onto my Instagram. And it says, "There's no better way to thank God for your sight than by giving a helping hand to someone in the dark." And that's all I have for you guys today.